Hello, Bats! I thought I would spend some time telling you about my amazing weekend at Glimmerdark. I was booked to perform 4 storytelling shows, 2 Poison Apples and Pretty Witches, which is my sort of go-to show. It's an adult show, it's fairy tales, but told for an adult audience. They also asked me to do 2 storytelling shows for children, or rather I offered to do storytelling shows for children. They said, yes, please do 2 of those. So I did 4 shows this weekend, none of which were attended by children. So I ended up doing essentially 4 Poison Apples and Pretty Witches, even though that isn't technically what was on the schedule. But it seemed silly to me to tell stories for itty-bitty kids when I didn't have any itty-bitty kids to tell stories to. That being said, the shows all went really well. The stories were well received. I made good money in tips. People bought books. Everything was lovely. I sent people to my Kickstarter for Tales Untold Volume 2, which is linked below in case you haven't already backed it. Friday night after my one storytelling show was done, I went to go see Micah speak on a panel called Can You Escape Fairyland in a TARDIS? I believe was the name of it, something along those lines. The idea was, can you escape Fairyland in a TARDIS? It was supposed to be him, Jeff Mack, and another gentleman, David something, who writes for Doctor Who anthologies. But my take, based on that title, was that it was going to be about, first of all, Doctor Who as relates to notions of fae and fairy and maybe fairy tales, or maybe an exploration of the science fiction and fantasy genres, where they overlap, where they don't overlap, what makes a story fantasy versus sci-fi, etc. First of all, I walked in, took a seat, and David, whatever his last name was asking who everyone's favorite doctor was. And Jeff Mack, who for some reason was not sitting at the table with Micah or standing with the guy who was for some reason standing, was in the audience and comes and sits next to me and says, "This is not a trap. What are your feelings about speaking on panels?" And I, who was first of all only mostly sure he was supposed to be on this panel, thought he might just have been in the room happenstance, thought he was discussing, possibilities for future panels or maybe, the next day or what have you. And I said, I'm not averse to it. I don't think I've ever actually spoken on a panel, but I'd be happy to do it. And he said, great. Can I give you 4 drink tickets to take my place on this panel so I can go deal with emergencies? Because that is what happens when you put the guy who owns the company that runs the event on a panel, apparently. So, yay, I got free booze out of the deal, but also ended up sitting in on this panel that Micah was supposed to be moderating, but this other guy just kept steamrolling both of us. It was a good conversation overall. Like I said, I don't think it was supposed to be entirely about Doctor Who, even though that's where this other guy kept steering us back to no matter what else came up, where or when it came up. And he seemed weirdly positive about Stephen Moffat's turn as showrunner, which, as a storyteller, I find sort of offensive because it was just terrible storytelling. His justification was, it's almost as if he was making it up as it goes along, which I find offensive as an improviser who can tell a coherent story making it up going along. I also got to perform with the White Elephant Burlesque Society. I've been performing with them since I started doing burlesque, essentially. I think they were my very first burlesque performance. They're wonderful, amazing people. The director, Victor Devon, is an old friend of mine. He was a groomsman in my wedding. I love him to death. And it was wonderful. White Elephant has changed a lot in the last year or 2. They got a weekly show at Rock Bar in New York City, which you should totally go check out if you were in the area. But it's in the middle of the week. I think it's Wednesday nights, which living in Richmond makes it hard for me to travel up to be a part of that. Because they're performing every single week now, they've brought in a lot of new performers, which again is wonderful. It's because they're growing. It's because they have this excellent weekly gig. But it means that I don't know as many of them as I used to, or at least a smaller percentage of them than I used to. So I got to meet some wonderful new performers, some wonderful elephants that I have not met before, who were amazing and lovely and talented. I got to wear ridiculous false eyelashes. If you saw my selfie from the other night, they were huge. I mean, they curled up, but I think probably they were like that long at the longest lash. And like I said, that curled up, but still, I mean, when I opened my eyes wide, they were up to my eyebrows. It was amazing. My husband Micah and our very good friend Leslie ran an escape room, which my husband wrote and created, which I beta tested and helped them set up for, etc. There were some snags here and there because, of course, in beta testing you're running, you know, 1 or 2 rooms a night at most. And so things broke, things came apart in a way they weren't expecting, things, you know, there were bumps in the road because it was the first time that they were taking it out to the public and the general world. But all in all, it went really well. All the time slots filled up. They were completely booked by the end of Friday evening at Glimmerdark, which is amazing. That's just fantastic and wonderful. I have so much more to say about the con, but I'm going to pause for a minute and address this lovely thing upon my head. There were some amazing vendors there. I fell completely in love with these horns, this headdress, this flower crown, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to get nice and close so you can see some of the details maybe. I really love it though. Fell completely in love with it. And my big thing is that I don't normally shop until the last day of the con. Like I might look around and visit vendors and like make mental notes of who had cool stuff I wanted to come back to. But I don't spend any money until I know how much I've earned in tips and book sales, because that way I don't spend more than I'm making, essentially. But I fell completely in love with this, and pieces like this are not exactly cheap. This one was very reasonably priced. I can't off the top of my head remember the name of the vendor, but I will put a link to their website in the description below so you can check out all their stuff, because it was really remarkably well priced for what it is. I've seen pieces like this go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and this was under $100, which is amazing. At any rate, I don't normally spend money up front, but I was so in love with it and so worried that she wouldn't have it at the end of the weekend that I had a conversation with my husband, and long story short, this is my Valentine's Day present, which makes the book I bought him seem kind of less than stellar. I'm just so in love with these horns. I can't stop looking at them. I love the way this piece moves. Like, it's just this one little flower that dangles ever so slightly, and I don't know why. Like, if you'd asked me, I would have said, wow, that sounds annoying. But I actually love it because it means it's constantly catching the light in the glitter. It's so glittery. Glimmerdark was in fact a fairy festival, and although I am not exactly a glittery kind of person, I did really fall in love with this piece, which is full of glitters. I got my nails done today, and I don't know if you can see, but they're also glittery because clearly the Fae have wormed their way into my brain. I kind of never want to take it off. I'm gonna have to. I have to go to work later tonight, and I don't think that they're gonna be okay with me showing up like this. I don't know. I also bought, I did not catch the name of the seller, and I feel very bad, but I bought this lovely piece that I'm wearing. It's a cardigan. It's very lacy, and the lace patterns are not the same throughout. Like, if you look, the lace here is different from the lace here, is different from the lace in various places, and I love how textured it is. I bought from Wicked Raven Studios this lovely spoon. It is ceramic. I asked if it was carved out of bone because I couldn't quite tell. Clearly this isn't a natural formation or it wouldn't be staying together like that, but it could very well have been carved out of some other larger bone. But it is ceramic, but it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. She makes cups that sort of match, that she didn't have any mugs with her that day, but I'm looking forward to getting one so I can stir my tea with this spoon in a bone mug. And I also bought from her, not this Slytherin mug, which you have seen before, but this tea infuser with the little corvid skull. It's just a regular infuser. Excuse me, because I am in fact drinking tea out of this mug right now. But yeah, it's beautiful. There were so many other beautiful things that I wish I had the money for or the need for so I could justify it. There was one vendor who had made realistic looking animals out of felt, and she had a couple of like teensy little pigs with like faux leather strapped on bat wings and like aviator goggles, and they were adorable and I really wanted one, but I had no idea what I was going to do with it. Their signs all said all offers considered, and I don't actually know what a reasonable offer on that would be, but I'm sure it is more than the 15 or 20 bucks I could justify on a piece of decor that I don't have a place to put yet. Like that I wasn't specifically looking for a thing to go in this spot and isn't that perfect. I couldn't really justify more than about 10, 20 bucks on a purchase like that. So I never even put in an offer because I'm sure they're worth significantly more than that and I didn't want to be insulting. But they were gorgeous. Cane Enable, that's Cane Enable, E-N-A-B-L-E. Always wonderful. I always sort of ogle their stuff. I don't think I've ever bought anything from them. They sell, as you might expect, canes and parasols and a couple of other small things that are in that vein. And I spent probably a total of 20 minutes just in their little vending area wishing that I could justify hundreds of dollars on a cane or walking stick that I don't really have a use for, but my goodness, what a beautiful walking stick that is, and oh, what a delightfully heavy blade comes out of it. Oh well. So there were tons of great vendors there. Like I said, most of whom I didn't purchase things from just because I was trying to not spend all of the money I earned this weekend right there. On the whole, I had an amazing weekend. Not even on the whole, just flat out. I had an amazing weekend at Glimmerdark. I'm really looking forward to next year. I am also really looking forward to Dark Side of the Con. I have not officially been accepted, but I have verbal confirmation that I will be getting an offer sometime this week, and I anticipate accepting that offer. Obviously, like I said, nothing is confirmed, nothing is down in writing, everything's still up in the air, but at the moment, it is my expectation that I will be at Dark Side of the Con, which is wonderful and very exciting. Wonderful weekend. I am massively sleep deprived still, so I'm probably gonna stop rambling, because I feel like that's all I'm doing right now, and go edit this video for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. And please also, if you are interested in alternative fairy tales, follow the link below and visit my Kickstarter page and back Tales Untold Volume 2.